as you begin creating your character, there are just some very important things we have to discuss, like what kind of facial hair you want to give your character in Middle-earth. Now, just as a disclaimer, facial hair is only available to dwarves, men, Beorning, and Stout-Axe Dwarves. Only to those races currently in the games. So you cannot add facial hair to your hobbit, or elves, or high elves for that matter. Depending on your race, you actually only have very limiting options. So like men, they only have about 9 facial hair choices, which honestly a lot of them are pretty similar to each other. They're just different lengths. And then dwarf race, you actually have 12 options. Beornings have 14, and then the Stout-Axe Dwarves have 21 options. So by far, Stout-Axe has the most facial hair choices. Now, before I tell you the top 10 beard and facial hair choices, make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you want to see more Lord of the Rings content. It actually helps a lot if you are able to hit subscribe. It's a great way to support, and it allows me to make more of these videos, which I love making for you. So now that you've hit the subscribe button, let's jump into the video and I'll tell you all of the top 10 facial hairstyles I recommend that you use for your characters. Alright, so we're going to start with number 10. So this one is definitely not the best, but it can definitely help you depending on what kind of a look you're going for. Number 10 is specifically for Stout-Axe Dwarves, and this is facial hair 2 of 21. This is a pretty straightforward look. Kind of looks a little awkward. This is definitely a unique taste, and this is not up my realm personally. Like, I don't know much about facial hair, no lie, but I will just say if I saw someone with that kind of a facial feature with a facial structure, I'd be like, unique choice, not my go-to, but it could be just what you want for your character. Number 9 is specifically just for dwarves, and this is facial hair 9 of 14. This one is more just for craps and giggles, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a super extreme long beard, as you can see. I would never personally go for this in a character because quite frankly, you're gonna be fighting and you don't want a super long beard, though some dwarves knock it out and do it just fine. They keep their beards long, trimmed, and put together, so whatever works for your character and what you're going for. But honestly, if you do have a specific look that you're going for, this is the longest beard that you can access within the game that I've come across, so this could definitely go more for like a wiser look if that's what you want to go with, but you could definitely also add into like your character background that there's someone who's very keen and neat on their beard trimming, because if you had a long beard like that, it would easily be going all over the place. Like, you'd have hair like going in all different directions. No way it would be that nicely neat and put together like that. So number 8 is for Stout-Axe Dwarves, and this is facial hair 7 of 21. Now this one's pretty simple. It's actually like a nice cleaner look for any of the beard types that are going on within the Stout-Axe Dwarves specifically. As you can tell, that it does have like a nice like layered, like just little trim of like a beard that goes a little bit to like the chest, like touching it anyway, but it's not overgrown or anything like that. Like, I'd almost classify it as a shorter beard in comparison to the other choices. And I paired it up with like a braided ponytail that almost looks like cornrows, but I thought that they worked together more so as like a rugged, almost like a brigand type of like a dwarf, and that was kind of what I was going for with this character specifically, which is why I really recommend this beard. And you also get options for increased details and such, and those details can actually work a little more with stubble and such, which is really cool if you do want like a more rugged character that has like a little bit of stubble and all of that around, just to kind of give your beards or facial hair a little more dimension. Number 7, which is for the man race, and this is facial hair 8 of 9. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I wasn't really a fan of the facial hairstyles that were available to the men. I think it was mostly because the dwarfs, and especially like with the Stout-Axe Dwarves, they have a lot of different unique options, but a lot of their beards were specifically really long. With the men, you really didn't have that. It was always like these short stubble like beard options. Even if it was like a mustache beard combo, like they didn't really differ much. The only thing that differed between all of the options was the fact of length, like hair length. It was almost like, how much hair do you want? And you don't get as much as the dwarves, so make it work, which, you know, has to be accurate with lore, so I get it. But it definitely does limit a lot of your options. Therefore, this is the only like man facial hair that I mentioned in this list. However, I chose 8 of 9 because it's definitely a little more like scruffy, but it's like a well-kept scruff, if that makes sense, because you do have like a full jaw just full of hair, and then you've got a little stash to go with it, you know. But it honestly all kind of works together, and it is clean cut, and compared to some of the other like beard options we'll see like with Dwarves and Stout-Axes, it's very much all over the place with them. And for this hairstyle particularly, it definitely has an option of adding a more clean cut look to it. So if you want a nice, decent, clean cut looking Warden, then you got it. That's exactly what I did. Number 6 is for Dwarfs, and it is facial hair 8 of 14. I like this look because it's a little simple and it's not that long in comparison to some of the other choices that are available for dwarves. I think it looks very realistic just simply in the fact of it definitely has like a more like wavy, straighter hair type, which I feel is pretty common for most people. Because if you look really closely, you can see like curls, but they're almost like getting detangled, which I feel is probably really prevalent, especially like when you're running around and your hair is getting all knotted from the humidity and it's just detangling. And quite frankly, I'm probably reading really into this, but I think that that's more of like a realistic common thing that I would probably see most dwarves wear in this like lore and time period. Number 5 is for Stout-Axe Dwarves, and this is facial hair 13 of 21. This is almost like a shorter cut beard and mustache combo that looks relatively messy. I'm not gonna lie, this is a very, very like messy short look that's going with it. So if you kind of want to go with someone who has like these overgrown sideburns and stuff that just morph into a beard and stash, and you really can't tell where anything is or how things begin because there's just so many layers, then this is a signature look for you. It almost kind of looks like someone like took like a really big beard and just decided to like cut around it and shorten it out, and that's kind of why it looks unique, especially with the layers to it. This isn't really a style that's prevalent along the other races, so I definitely wanted to kind of throw that out there that it is really unique. It's a shorter style, but it also kind of has like a rugged look to it in terms of how the layering is done. It's almost like a go-to choppy look. Not my personal like top 3, but I could see why other people would like this combo, especially like with the ponytail. Number 4 is for dwarfs, and this is facial hair 1 of 14. Now for me, this seems to be like one of the more common beard choices for dwarfs. I do see a lot of people run around with this. I don't know what it is, what the attraction is, but I even personally like it. It's actually one of the better looking choices. It has a lot more like unique qualities that I feel you would see with dwarves. Like they do have a lot of longer beards, and then they do want to mix in like some of the braid and bead combos, which is pretty prevalent within the lore. So I really do like that this one, it's not too bad. I mean, it's pretty simple in terms of just a regular beard, and then they throw in like 4 braids kind of all around evenly. Number 3 is for Beornings, and this is facial hairstyle 14 of 14. Now similar to the men, Beorning didn't have that many unique facial options in my opinion. Like they had longer to like medium length options that are definitely not prevalent along the men. However, the Beornings do have like a shaggier look to them, we'll say, and especially with their class. I mean, they are like the bear type of creatures, so I don't really see them going out trying to get like all these hair trims and beard trims 24/7. Like their ordinary is morphing into a big bear, so that's kind of why they have more shaggier looks to them, which I do kind of like. However, going back to my previous point, Beornings do have kind of limiting options compared to men simply because their options are more or less just length, like same beard type, but you have the short, medium, or longer version. But I like the style of this because it does stick with the lore. It's a little overgrown, a little curly and tangled, but it's like a shaggy looking beard for a shaggy looking Beorning. All right, y'all, we are on number 2, which is for dwarfs, and this is facial hair option 5 of 14. Now this one looks pretty similar in my opinion to 8 of 14. However, the 8 of 14 option, just to kind of recap, it was more of like a wavy tangle look to it with like a couple of braids that just kind of fell into place, nothing too out of the ordinary, more of like a medium length. This one is definitely shorter by just a tad bit, but it's also more of like dreadlocks. It's kind of how I thought about it. It's got like this more almost like a braided look, but it's definitely tangly, kind of like dreadlocks. Like you don't really have to do much, it's just put in place to keep together. What I like about this one is that it's pretty much one solid look. Like it doesn't have various layers to it. It has a little bit of dimension just because you have your mustache that is grown to the size of the beard length, and then you add like 3 beads total to both sides. So it definitely does have a more clean cut look in the fact of there's not many layers in comparison to the other options. So that's kind of why this was number 2 on the list. It's more of like a distinguished style, but it could definitely make you look presentable no matter what. And finally, we are at the top number 1 option, which is for Stout-Axe Dwarves, and this is facial hair 5 of 21. Now this one is definitely a unique go-to style. This is probably not a look you see most people wear in terms of the beard specifically. Like I don't really see a lot of people kind of take their beards and just put in like this really big hair piece to kind of clump it together. And then at the end of it, I would definitely not see to expect like almost like a hair decor of some kind. It's like the only look that you can find that's almost like different sections of a beard that have been put together almost like in a braided style or by something that's kind of holding it together like a scrunchie. So it's definitely unique in that aspect. The mustache in particularly is a little overgrown, and I am kind of surprised they didn't like put it in and kind of like clump it together with the beard, but I think it would look a little too odd if they did that. But I really like this one because it is a very cool look. I could definitely see a lot of Stout-Axe Dwarves rocking this look, and it can kind of go for like a more like dangerous or rugged or almost like the prisoner like Mordor like vibes that you get from the beginning of the game when you play the Stout-Axe. So even for lore reasons, it just kind of works out better, and that's why it's one of the top facial hairstyles. We've hit the end of the video, but make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed some of this content. It's a little different from what I normally do, because normally I talk all about Lotro tips and guides, which I have a playlist down below for you to check out. And if you do want to see more Lotro content and gameplay, I do play Lotro on Twitch every Tuesday, so make sure to come in and say hi and see me in real time. Until next time, stay weird, weirdos.